Welp, I'm sorry folks, I don't make the rules, I just have to abide by them, because now we have no choice. We have no choice but to admit it, that Vancouver Canucks captain Quinn Hughes is the ultimate goon. Yeah, I know, I said it right, I hate to say it, but the NHL referees have spoken, the NHL's internal reviews have spoken, Vancouver Canucks hockey is being captained by a dirty son of a gun. Quinn Hughes is the biggest goon in the league. Not the guy who ended up getting in a whole bunch of kerfuffles in this game. Not the guy who had spent way more time in the box than he could have because of his temper and physical altercations. Not any of the guys who went to the box for fighting in this game. Nuh-uh. The biggest goon in the league is Quinn Hughes. Okay, enough with the sarcasm. Because I am behind my microphone at home, in front of my computer screen, you can probably tell that I am now back. I had a day trip at Whistler yesterday, which we had spoken about in the vlog at Whistler. I almost died at Whistler a few times. It was very, very scary. But on the ride home, we made a few pit stops along the way. Shout out to the guy who was at Park Royal earlier this afternoon who recognized me as I was waiting for my bubble tea at the freshly squeezed store. I really appreciated the kind words and the fist bump. And also, big shout out over to the folks at Pastime Sports in North Van who were watching the game while I was in the store and expressing their feelings on the Quinn Hughes gooning it up situation. Because the biggest thing that I think everybody will take away from this Canucks and Ottawa game was that physicality. I ended up watching the majority of this game on my smartphone on the ride home and also listening to Sportsnet 650 before finally coming back home and finishing the remaining few minutes of the third period in front of a television screen. But I did catch a good chunk of this game, not all of it. There are, however, some dominating storylines that fans will be talking about out of this one from both sides. We will be talking about Quinn Hughes, the hit on Josh Norris. We'll talk about Dakota Joshua, Brady Tkachuk, Timmy Stu, Niels Höglander, a whole bunch of stuff that went down in this hockey game and the penalties that resulted out of it. This was a pretty tough game. And it's not because the gameplay itself was like amazing or super clutch. There were some goals and some opportunities towards the end that made Canucks fans a little bit shaky, but ultimately this was an angry, angry game. And it started out quickly with some penalties to Noah Juulsen and Brady Tkachuk. That wouldn't be the first time this game that Juulsen and Tkachuk would go at it. You also had yourselves the Quinn Hughes hit, as Josh Norris was behind the Canucks net trying to corral the puck. Quinn Hughes taps him on the back of the numbers, and Norris is unfortunately doing a little bit of a pivot at that moment. So while he is 2 feet away from the boards, because the momentum is going that way, and because Quinn Hughes does make contact, Norris goes headfirst into the boards, he goes down, and Quinn Hughes ends up getting a 5-minute major game misconduct boarding call. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know. Even Brendan Batchelor went out there on Twitter and said that he could not believe that call, even with the review, ended up being called as it was, and how Vancouver ultimately got themselves a penalty and a game misconduct because of it. Yeah, sorry, I guess Quinn Hughes is just the biggest, most domineering force out there, and he is a physical monster. Oh yeah, wait, no he's not. He doesn't really do that. That boarding call, I feel, was just an unfortunate placement of timing, as well as Josh Norris's skates being in an awkward position at that moment of the hit, which caused him to fly. He kind of leapt into the boards, it seemed like. Didn't really feel like the force that Quinn Hughes exerted was the same as the amount of force that he ended up leaping into the boards with. But anyways, that gets called. The Sens get a 5-minute major power play, and nothing happens. They don't score, and for the most part, the Ottawa Senators in the first 2 periods, you could even say, didn't really have much going for them offensively, and the Vancouver Canucks were just kind of having a chill job, defending, keeping the puck out of their own zone. Ottawa wasn't really getting too many prime opportunities, and the first goal of the game, after Artyom Zub takes a hooking penalty against Max Sasson. Oh yeah, by the way, Max Sasson made his NHL debut today. You had yourselves Jake DeBrusk on a beautiful tip right in front, who ends up getting the Canucks on the board 1-0. It's Pettersson over to Hronek. Hronek cross to the left side, Garland in front, and it's tipped by the goalie and in by Jakey D. Of course, it's Hronek at the top of the power play because Quinn Hughes is out. No Miller, no Besser, so the first unit looks a little bit different. And this first unit cast of guys ultimately ends up doing some very good things in this hockey game. Second period comes along, and this is where the Ottawa Senators strike back. Brady Tkachuk gets a power play goal of his own on a Nils Höglander slashing call on Timmy Stu. This is moved around a little bit. Sanderson throws it towards the goal, and Brady Tkachuk is right there in the slot. That's where he does his damage, and he puts the puck in the back of the net past Kevin Lankinen. However, the Canucks respond just 6 minutes later with Teddy Blueger's 4th of the year and Max Sassen's first ever NHL point. Let's go, baby. Beautiful interception by Tyler Myers at the Canucks blue line. He throws it up to Sassen, who comes in 2-on-2. Sassen stops up, reverse swings it back to Blueger, who goes short side on Linus Ullmark. It's a beautiful play, a beautiful shot, and an even more beautiful moment for a Vancouver Canucks rookie in Sassen, who has had a really interesting career up to this point, forcing himself into the Vancouver Canucks lineup for the first time at the ripe old age of 24 years old. They show his family, his dad, his brother in the stands. Brother looks exactly like him. Like, okay, of course, those two guys are brothers. We recognize that just visually. But a few minutes later, the Vancouver Canucks have even more to cheer about as Jake DeBrusk gets his second goal of the game, and it is yet another beauty. Elias Pettersson and Kiefer Sherwood assist on Jakey D's second of the night. Sherwood comes in on a 2-on-1. He's got DeBrusk on his left, the pass is made, and DeBrusk dekes left-right over onto the backhand pass Linus Ullmark and makes it 3-1 Vancouver. Let's go. Jakey D is finally getting his mojo back and ready to go. And the Vancouver Canucks are up 3-1 to end off this second period. The Sens had a few shots towards the end of the second, but mostly on the intermission. The folks on Sportsnet 650 were talking about how the Senators have been making it easy for the Vancouver Canucks to defend and not really need to straddle themselves up defensively. The Sens weren't really pushing much, but that changed in the third period. Now, it didn't change right away, because at the beginning of the third period, you had yourselves Kiefer Sherwood extend his hot play as Petey goes over to DeBrusk. Out in front it goes, and Sherwood puts that rebound in the crease, in the net. DeBrusk and Petey assist on Sherwood's 6th of the year, and it is a 4-1 game with 14 minutes left in the third period. Now, you know how we talked about earlier in the game how Brady Tkachuk and Noah Juleson went at it? Well, they kind of went at it at the end of the second period as well. And then into the third period, you also had Brady Tkachuk take a big fight against Dakota Joshua. Tkachuk was thrown out of the game. A minute later, you had Nils Höglander. He got hit into the boards awkwardly and dangerously by Timmy Stu, and they went at it for a little bit. Roughing calls all around. You had a whole bunch of players in the box. This was definitely not a peaceful hockey game. And with the power plays and with the advantages towards the end of the period there, this is where the Senators started to strike back. They had a 6-on-4 opportunity with the empty net, and it was Claude Giroux who scored to make it 4-2. And then, just a few minutes later, with about a minute to go in the third, you had Tim Stutzle score as well. The final few minutes of this period were played mostly in the Canucks zone, the Senators finally pressing, oddly enough, without Brady Tkachuk, but this was where Ottawa came alive and they showed, hey, we can still compete, we can be in this game, but it was too little too late for a Canucks team that, for the majority of this contest, was just able to not even weather the storm, but just kind of weather the light drizzle that the Ottawa Senators were giving Vancouver. And they did this all without Miller, without Besser, without Hughes. How great is that? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks and the Ottawa Senators and how the Canucks beat this team 4-3 after what was a fiery, contested game. Thoughts in the comments as to how everything went. What are your opinions on the hits and the fighting majors as well? Thoughts on the misconduct and everything in between. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on and bye.